Bum, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum, ba, bum. Welcome back to Bjjbrick Quick. This is the Quick BJJ podcast. My name is Byron, and today we're talking about your first contact with an opponent. What I'm really talking about is the first time you really touch your opponent or a training partner or somebody you don't know. So you could travel, or maybe you have somebody new in class that you're unaware of. That first time that you guys lock up, you can learn a lot from this. And I think the things I learn the quickest is if we're both standing and we tie up. You kind of get your hands on them, and they get your hands on you, and you work a little bit of something. And I could almost tell within the opening second, maybe even beforehand, by their stance. But really, if they grab your gi or they tie up behind your neck with their hand, you could tell what kind of a grappler they are to a certain degree. And I say opponent, I'm not really a competitive grappler. I'm more of a hobbyist. But having competed before, this is a definite thing you should pick up on. If you tie up with somebody and it feels like he's spent the last 15 or 20 years wrestling in high-level programs, you'll feel that. And if you tie up with them and they feel like they don't really want to do much stand-up, or, to lack of a better thing, the typical jiu-jitsu person, they just kind of, they want to grip, or they want to end the stand-up thing rather quickly. That's information you could gather as well. Just notice, and if you're new, what does this feel like? Does it feel like, kind of compare them to the catalog of training partners you have? Did I just tie up with Joe, he grabs my neck and I could tell, okay, he's going, I know Joe and he's going to wrestle? Or does it feel like somebody who, maybe Jake, who is wanting to pull guard? And I'm picking random names here. Just by the way, Jake, how he grapples and what he wants to do, that's a good comparison. And it's hard to disguise what you want to do when you start to engage your opponent or your training partner. Even going outside of actual first contact, did your opponent just sit down? Did they pull guard on you? That's a thing. If maybe they saw you in the back on the warm-up mat and you were practicing shots with your coach and you look pretty good practicing shots, even though your shot's not the best, you might convince your opponent not to give up those first 2 points. And they might pull guard. On the other hand, if you're kind of in the back, or I keep saying the back, if you're on the warm-up mats and you're pulling guard with your coach and going through some motions, they would be shocked if you shot in and got a takedown. So there's a little bit of recon that they could do possibly, or you can do. Also, and this seems weird, but this whole thing could be faked. When you tie up with somebody and they feel super strong, they feel stable, they feel like they've got good gap balance, and they feel like they've wrestled for a long time, you could learn that rather quickly. You're not really doing any actual wrestling. Your stance is good. Where you're putting your hands is smart and effective. The strength that's in your hands, they'll feel that. But you don't have to back it up with 20 years of wrestling. You could just be kind of imitating some of your training partners. And your opponent will think, oh, I don't really want to spend the next 5 minutes trying to wrestle with this person. I typically don't do well in those. And they might go ahead and pull guard. You could fake a good wrestling game. Although, not very long. Obviously, you have to be able to back it up with the skills. But that first contact, it doesn't really steer me wrong very often. If I go travel and I'm training at a gym, I don't know people, most people are there kind of like I am. They're wanting to get better. They're not wanting to, murder everybody they run into. But as soon as we start rolling, I know what kind of roll I'm in for. And that's usually an accurate description of the rolling session. Do you guys have any interesting first contact stories? Love to hear them. Comment on this show. I'd like to see what you guys think about this idea or this concept. A little bit of information gathering on the opening seconds of a grappling exchange. If you have any ideas or topics you want me to cover, send them to bjbrick@gmail.com. And always stay sweaty, my friends.